JeanClaude BeyondMystic, and welcome to this deep woo-woo episode of Tarot Readings by Janine. Of course, you can find Janine at Sending Ravens here on YouTube and also at Tarot by Janine. Janine, welcome back to the show.
Hi, everybody.
How's it going, Janine?
Really good.
Very good. And of course, have my remote co-host who's actually here tonight with us. Julie, you can find her work at Maison Jupiter on YouTube and also here on the web at maisonjupiter.com. Julie, welcome back to the show.
Hi, guys. Nice to be here with you.
You guys have been busy today. My ears were ringing. Janine, tell me what the hell you did today, because you seem to have made a big wave into the pond here of human consciousness on the planet.
I interviewed Julie today. Yep, on Sending Ravens, and yeah, we did. I must admit, we were gossiping about Jean-Claude.
Yeah, your name did a couple times.
Yeah, that was funny. I actually just had time to watch it here before the show. That was a great interview. Guys, if you haven't seen this interview and you want to know a little bit more about what makes Julie tick, Janine has her magic ways here of interviewing. So go see this interview here on Sending Ravens. Really, really lovely interview. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here tonight on this live interactive show. As you can see, I don't have a backdrop with me tonight. I am on the road, and I'm going to try to do my best. And of course, Julie is going to help me out, put up some slides on the deck also during this live here tonight. So a big thank you for joining us. And of course, Janine and I did take a Monday evening off for the Easter weekend. And yeah, so it's great to be back in the saddle, even though I'm on the road. I didn't want to miss the show tonight. Janine and I were talking earlier today. It's like, no, we can't miss 2 in a week, because we're getting a bunch of emails from people saying, oh my God, we're suffering from JC, Janine, Julie withdrawal. So here we are, folks. We got a lot to discuss here today. First off, let me bring up this one here. Let me see. I have a pyramid from Carla to give away tonight for the tip jar for tonight's show. And this pyramid is named Rosa. Unfortunately, I can't play it on my laptop here as I usually do. You guys have seen this before. And of course, if you go to ascensionorganites.com, there you can find all of her pyramids in the shop section here. And check out this beautiful pyramid that we're giving away here tonight. And of course, here on Ascension Organites, if you use the coupon code BeyondMystic, you'll also obtain an extra 10% off of these amazing creations. So a big thank you again to Carla here for providing this pyramid here to you guys. One of you lucky winners in the PayPal tip jar donation pot this evening. Absolutely amazing pyramids for you there. Okay, I think we should start, Janine, with our first news story of the night. This is interesting in your neck of the woods, of course. As soon as the provinces here in Canada started lifting the mandates during the Freedom Convoy, we started seeing different provinces lift mandates, but just the next day put out trial balloons about where they really wanted to go with all of this paperwork. And of course, here on the screen, we're seeing your premier here in Alberta frantically trying to hire here a digital ID manager for this new program, who I guess is going to be paid 10 grand a month, apparently, here on this news article here. So this trial balloon is now being moved into production. We're seeing other provinces here in Canada also suggest the same. So it appears that the ultimate goal of perhaps forcing people into this paperwork, I'll just call it that for this show here, is starting to show its ugly face. So I guess I want to start here. This is Alberta. Curious that it would be Alberta maybe on the forefront of this for now. Are they indeed intent here on continuing with whatever means, if it's not the propaganda of the last 2 years, but perhaps the Green Pass and other yet to be known issues that they might throw at us here in order to corral us into this new digital ID program? Is that what's going on?
Well, they're definitely putting it out there, and the desire, I believe, originally was to get that to happen. So I think that they're showing what the desire was. The desire was to have one of these things go. But interesting, these two cards are underneath. So that's your advice. Be patient and keep manifesting your desire, okay? Because this thing's not gonna see the light of day. Okay, this is not going to see the light of day. And then we've got these two in the middle. So I feel like this is part of the movie, I'm going to say.
When you say it's not going to see the light of the day, let me do a follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
And this was coming from Cliff maybe a couple of days ago too. We were chatting, and he suggested that Canada would be freed soon. Of course, we saw in the news in the last couple of days that Australia and New Zealand, which were probably the worst holdouts in the last 2 years, have now lifted their mandates on travel for their citizenry. But here, the Minister of Transport just today here in Canada was also saying, nope, not going to happen here. We're holding strong. So, but that being said, Cliff was saying that still similar to what he was picking up in the Ides of March report, was that eventually here we would be looking at a reconstituted Canada. So this is where I want to ask you, is this reconstitution of Canada, or perhaps a priori from the reconstitution, a breakdown here of our Canadian makeup, is really what's going to stop perhaps this digital ID in its tracks?
Well, around that question, I'm getting a shocking reveal or revelation of truth. A shocking revelation of truth leads us to more independence and freedom.
Oh.
So yeah, and then these two cards are clarifying it. So she would be like somebody getting served justice, or some real truth being served up. She's very direct and clear, and it's something from the past I feel like is going to come up and get revealed that takes us away from. So some kind of shocking reveal, and it has to do with past action, I think, by the government. Reveals something that creates it, so this stuff all goes by the wayside.
Wow. Okay, so in terms of shocking reveal, as you're saying that, my head is buzzing with eclipses. Julie, I see your face nodding.
Yeah, me too.
The eclipses? Of course, you, Janine and I talked about the eclipses in the last couple of shows, including the Astro Woo Finance as well as the Beyond Crypto Woo. And those guys, we're recording early this week or this month. We will be recording that, I believe, this Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So check the Insider Access Pass this weekend. For all of you who are members, you'll see that in priority sequence, and then in the next day or two at the pay-per-view level for everyone. But Julie, let's bring up your eclipse chart if you still have it, and maybe let's put some meat to the bone here as to some of these, perhaps what we think are going to be these shocking revelations here moving forward.
Yeah, so when Janine was talking about shocking revelations and having this tower card, it reminded me of Uranus, because for me, the planet Uranus and the card, the tarot card, the tower, are very, very much connected. So it's like a sudden revelation. And usually those types of big revelations or big events happen very close to an eclipse or the eclipse season. And we're going to have the eclipse season, the first one of the year, very soon, April 30th, to be exact, is the first date of the first eclipse. And then the second one is going to be on May 16th. So it's not on the day of necessarily, but it's usually like a couple of weeks before, a couple of weeks after. It's like a period of time that encompasses like a lot of changes in the air. It's like a very type of like hectic energy. So lots of change in direction of timelines, of frequencies also. So now, on the first, what? Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Julie. There's a little bit of a lag here, but go ahead, keep going.
Oh, and so yeah, so the first one, it's funny you guys were talking about those digital IDs, sort of projects that the many governments are having. So for me, it ties in with the planet Uranus, which is more of a technology planet. And this new moon eclipse is happening very close to Uranus. So it's going to happen at 10 degrees of Taurus, and Uranus is going to be at 14 degrees of Taurus. And Uranus brings sudden revelations. It's always kind of surprises also. So we never really know what's going to happen before it's coming, because Uranus is like coming out of a left field, so to say. So so it could be like an attempt to have more control over the population with technology. It could also be a new form of centralized crypto that's being created. Also, I was thinking about how it's an eclipse, like a new moon eclipse is the sun, the moon, and the north node in this example that are really close by with Uranus. So it's like the sun is being eclipsed. So the sun is related to gold. So I was also thinking that could be a reevaluation of the gold.
Well, speaking of the gold here, of course, you and I reported on Russia backing the ruble with gold and demanding that the egregious countries in the theater that is currently underway pay for their oil and electricity bills, energy bills in something other than the US dollar. So that's moving forward. And Cliff was also suggesting that from his reports, we would see the taps basically shut off mid-May. And so this is also part of that second eclipse there. That's interesting. Janine, let us have you pull some cards here on either this first eclipse or the second eclipse, and how that could be part of the shocking news or anything that universe wants to tell us here in terms of both these eclipses, how they can perhaps change the course of humanity, but also maybe for the collective at large. Let's see what the cards have to say to add to this.
I think the eclipse, either or both, are going to have a really healing effect on what's been going on. Like we're hearing these things, we're seeing governments trying to push through these things that, of course, humanity, it will not serve humanity. Like that news report about what in Alberta they're trying to do, that's definitely not going to serve humanity. Anybody who's cured, right? Not that it's a cure, is obviously there. Now that means we're not going to be able to travel ever. Like we're grounded because we won't have the right, ID, I guess, or whatever. So I feel like these eclipses are actually going to help. It's almost like the spiritual response to that kind of overreach, energetic overreach, and it's saying surrender to it. It heals that. It heals what's out of balance. Mm-hmm. And right now, what's out of balance is obviously powers that think they are. We used to call them powers that be, but I don't want to call them powers that be. They're not anymore, but they want to be powers that want to be. Okay. Right. I feel like it's going to help balance that power dynamic out and put it back in the good guys' hands, our guys' hands.
Wow, that's good news.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because it's the first time we're having eclipses since the nodes shifted in the financial axis of Taurus and Scorpio. Mm. So the first one is going to be in Taurus, new moon. So we're starting something new, a new cycle, a big new cycle that's going to benefit everyone for the abundance. And then the second one is going to be a full moon eclipse in the sign of Scorpio with the south node. So the end of the old cycle, the old way of doing with the powers that were, if you want to call them that way.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to bring up a question from the live chat here. I wasn't going to, but because we're talking about the eclipses, and I remember in one of the last shows, Julie had developed a concept for you guys that when there's a lunar eclipse versus the solar eclipse, we either have this effect of a male figure, a prominent male figure being eclipsed, or a female figure being eclipsed. And we've talked about who perhaps those would be, I believe, in one of the last pay-per-views. It could have been the social media one. So if you guys haven't seen that, go check it out. But there's a lot of people in the chat now saying that in the rounds right now, there's, I guess, a scuttlebutt that perhaps 107 has lost connection to his intel sources. Now, he's been in the forefront in the last couple of years, maybe in a big way compared to some other truthers. I'm curious here is if what we're seeing or what we're hearing is just another run-of-the-mill attack here in the truther community to try to confuse everyone, or is it possible, in fact, that some of these players are being now sidelined as we're getting close to curtains here on this big show? What can the cards tell us, Janine? And again, here I would say, guys, use discernment. So you listen to everyone, follow no one. But it's interesting to see all of these power dynamics and not fall prey to perhaps where these organizations are trying to manipulate us into different narratives. I think it's a very a good point for us to be talking about this. Go ahead, Janine.
So this is coming up as him. I don't really get him a dark hat or being utilized by the dark forces. If anybody's thinking that, I wouldn't say that with this card. In fact, he's a very wealthy and well-positioned guy, knows a lot of people. This guy's sort of has a huge community of connections and financial means, this guy. Okay, and he's been working for the good, it looks like, of the whole. Like these two cards are describing him. This card's like he's more on the cautious side. Looks like he was put in there to bring about a hold on to the reins, hold the line, and give the message for caution and prepare people for all the waiting we had to do. And if you listen to what he says, in fact, I don't even listen to what I loved him at first, but now I don't even listen to him. Not because I don't think he's bringing truth, but I want to change the timelines with my intention and vision. So I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. He was put in there to make sure everybody knows it's going to be hard. He always says the same thing. Gut punch is going to be hard, blah, blah. And that just, I'm done talking about that. I want us to move it forward, and I think we have the power. So he was put there for that. He's been doing his job. He's been doing his job, bringing that, so that he's got a mission. Okay, and this is the past. So his mission is coming from a heartfelt, and he was put in place likely by the good guys, by the looks of this. None of these are bad cards; they're really good cards. And then, he's all about all the work we had to do. He's all about knowing that we have to do work, and I think he'll still have a placement. So this sounds like maybe misinformation you're getting, or whatever that came from. I'm not seeing it. I feel like he'll still be an integral part of this.
Okay, that's very interesting. Julie, as we were talking about all of this astrology and these solar eclipses, how important is that also in your personal birth charts? And give an update to the audience members here if you want to bring up your website also. Where are you in the production of these birth charts for a lot of the audience members who've contacted you here in the last week or two to order their birth charts? I know you've been working like 15 hours a day trying to get on top of all of these orders. So let's give us an update on this. And if you want to bring up your website on your side here to show what we're talking about.
Yeah, so it's always between 1 week and 2 week production, because I do all the birth chart by hand, one by one. So I was a little bit behind. So I was more towards the 14, 15 days and in the past days, but I'm gonna work even harder to get back on top of my list. So I'm gonna share. What was I? I'm going to share my screen here. Wait a minute.
There you go. Let me bring it up.
Yeah. So here, and it's showing in GBP. Okay, and then about what you were just saying with Janine, it reminded me of a conversation we had a couple of years ago of like all the truthers having different kind of missions in our awakening process. So I feel like some truthers might have been here just to destroy the old paradigm, destroy our old ideas that kept us stuck in the old world, and some others, like, they all have an intent and a goal. And I feel like once you're on your awakening path, then you're moving on to maybe another type of truthers along the way, so it can help raise your frequency. But you have to know the truth first. So
Right.
wanted to
Okay.
add
And here's an example. D1 says, Julie, so excited. I ordered my personalized birth chart and a candle from your shop. So explain why you have British pounds on your website now. What happened this weekend after you and I launched these amazing crystal candles? I want to bring that up on the site as well for people to see.
Yeah, so we had quite a lot of orders. So thank you, everybody. We're going to ship them as quick as we can. So Elena has a lot of candles to ship, and we had a lot of demand to ship to UK and Australia and New Zealand. So we kind of weren't expecting that. So that was a great surprise. So I added a few parts of the world for our possible shipping destinations. So these are crystal candles. I was going to say chandelle in French, or candelas in Spanish. Right. And Elena makes them all by hand with full moon charge crystals with different intentions. And we have one for every chakra. So these are great manifestation tools.
Very good. And folks, if you haven't seen this episode from last week, I truly recommend you go and check it out. It was the Divine Feminine's Oracle show with Janine, Julie, the amazing Sophie as well, and introducing Elena with these amazing candles. She goes into detail as to her life story, how she was always very passionate about meditating and centering, and how all of her life, the creation of these amazing candles has been in the forefront of her world. And now, of course, she's exiting the old matrix system, moving into this new world of abundance and self-actualization. So a lot of you members who watched this show really resonated with her story. So if you haven't seen that already, please do go check it out. It was the Divine Feminine's Oracle show from 5 days ago. Speaking about products and delivery, the silver bars are now available to the waiting list audience members. We did launch that this weekend. I contacted everybody who had filled out over the last month the waiting list for either the tarot card, the tarot star card, or the Beyond Mystic logo. I also put this out on the Insider Access Pass members, the VIPs also. And so I'm waiting for quite a few of those people still to put in their orders, basically because of spam issues. Some people didn't get the notifications. So I know that Andy is also trying to reach the rest of the VIP people who had placed their pre-orders a month ago. As soon as all that is worked out, and we've been working at this 24/7 all week here, we will be launching these bars to the general public at large. But you will understand that, of course, this was a limited run, and we wanted to give priority to all of those amazing people who had filled out the waiting list here quite a few weeks ago, and who were supporting us here in the creation of these amazing bars and this amazing product. Now, in terms of shipping, it's a minimum 3 to 4 weeks before they're shipping them out, because they are literally working night and day now creating all of these bars, and these are done by hand. So these are really, if you go and watch the video here, you will see the description of how these are made. A really amazing quality bar. So a big thank you to all of you, and just wait a few more days here for all of the remaining people on the waiting list to make sure that they get their order in as soon as they can. And then, of course, we will be launching this to the main public at large as well. And as Andy was saying to me, he's going to do his level best to be able to ship this around the world. Now, that being said, there is legislation and there is shipping fees, and there is in some countries taxes involved also by importing silver. There is absolutely no minimum order on these bars, first of all. So I'm not sure where you're getting that in the chat. I'm letting you know there is no minimum order. There will be at some point when they are placed available to the public, perhaps limit orders, because the quantity of these bars is limited to this production run, and we want to try to get to as many fans as we can. But of course, the people who were on the waiting list do not have a limit on their order, and they also have an introductory price also just for them and for the Insider Access Pass members as well. I see the email there about the 5,000 minimum order in Canada. I'm sorry, I don't think that is correct. I will try to fix that with Andy as well. There could be an issue there for some reason that I don't know about. At any rate, as I say, the shipping for these bars is always the issue, the weight and the taxes involved, and the insurance that is involved covering these precious metals being sent to different countries. So bear with us as we work that over, and we will be bringing more news on that front in the next couple of days. Now, if we move to the next news story of the day here, Janine, I wanted to ask you this. You and I had talked about doing this show for quite some time about Walt Disney. We can't get into too much details as to why here on YouTube, but I thought this was interesting that Florida, the Senate was passing a bill here to dissolve basically Disney's special district classification. And between you and I wanted to ask the cards if this was in fact more than a geopolitical municipal move, but whether or not it was maybe the last stages in a war against organized hurting of little people. That's the best I can say here. And what can those cards say on that, Janine?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how many news stories I've seen outing Disney and their employees. It's nonstop. Like, it's been coming out fast and furious here for at least 3 weeks. So I think they're gearing up to something, right? Okay, so we got yeah, they want them out. This feels like it's the good military. So I'm going to say the alliance working in the background, outing these guys. Surrender to, yeah, they want them out of Florida, it looks like, and maybe out of business. Yeah, these guys are going. They're in a big takedown. It looks like this is in the past. So I think the alliance and or white hats have decided, or have. Well, I'm pretty sure they knew for a long time. These guys are really, really, really involved in some really scandalous things that we don't want to talk about on this channel. Unfortunately, like not on YouTube. So these guys are going down. We got 2 10s. They're going down. They're taking down Disney, and this is just one of the ways they're doing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that'll be a sight to behold, because for a lot of people still, this is sacrosanct. They don't understand how deep all of this goes. But when this information starts making headline news, a lot of people are going to realize that if this is true, then perhaps a lot of those other conspiracy nutters were in fact true as well. Wow. Okay, next news story here. Who is this? First bank in America here is forecasting a U.S. recession. Well, the first bank to forecast the U.S. recession here that we're actually already in is now warning us to prepare for what they call a hard landing. Now, you and I have been trying to warn the audience too. There's a lot of unintended consequences here to the end of this Ponzi scheme. And in some cases, yes, there are good people in the back trying to work here so that we don't have a hard landing. And we're hoping for a softer landing. But as of today, April 20th, let's take a read on the cards here, because every time we look at this, this is an evolving story. And there's always push and shove here in these last days of this Ponzi. Janine?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be shocking revelations coming out about finance and what's really going on. A lot of us kind of on the back burner here, we know, thank goodness. So I think the truther world's way ahead of this. We're way ahead of this curve. We've been talking about this for a long time. So that what they're saying there is true, and it will be very upsetting. And we've got to surrender. We're going to all have to surrender to some things that we don't like. But this was the outcome. And this is quickly righted, and or a lot of good energy, because they saw it coming, being put towards a positive spin on it. So I feel like it's not that, like, yeah, we're going to see bad results for sure. I mean, the thing's going down. A lot of people are still heavily invested in it. Don't even know. I know really big business people that have no clue there's a big change coming in the financial market and have no idea when you tell them the petrodollar's going down. They don't even know. Okay, so that, of course, that's going to affect a lot of people and a lot of things because they're not prepared. But I think if you are prepared, I think you can spin it around a lot. Like, I think preparedness and knowing ahead of time and knowing that this was coming is going to really help a lot of people.
Okay. And on that note, again, guys, if you want a little bit of, I guess, an edge in trying to navigate all of this, please do go and check out our Crypto Woo Finance show and the Astro Woo Finance also on BeyondMystic.net, where we get into a lot more details about real estate, about the stock market, the cryptos themselves, and precious metals, and how to navigate all of this crazy stuff that's happening all at the same time, of course. And talking about crazy stuff here, we're seeing mad scramble here from the lawyers from the HRC team here, trying to prevent this investigation to get into some of these, I won't even say the relationship to some of these documents on this show here, just again, trying to avoid, my buddy Joe just got a no strike here today. So YouTube is getting harder and harder on some of this language, but you guys can read on the screen here what's going on. So I wanted to maybe take another pulse here. We've been hearing ramblings that eventually she would, at least in the public view, and you and I have pulled cards on this, that perhaps this has already happened, but at least in the public view, get some justice here. Let's take another read on that, Janine, and see how close we are to perhaps all of this coming out and people realizing who we're talking about.
Wow, the tower might as well just keep the tower up on the screen the whole night here. So huge, shocking revelations about this. This is literally dysfunction and yuckiness. Okay. Look at that card, right? So especially when it's badly aspected. So a bunch of really big disclosures coming out that is going to shock people. Not going to shock this world. I mean, everybody watching this, we know what she's all about and all the lies and deception and how she's been completely covered up in the mainstream media. You know, they still pretend like she's okay. Do you know what I mean? They're still trying to make her out to be good, but a whole lot of truth. So this was in the middle of these two. A whole lot of truths coming out that's going to be shocking for normal type people watching mainstream media, let's say. Yeah, and it's going to be fast and furious, and it's on the way already.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
I'm thinking about mostly the second eclipse for that kind of revelation and outings and maybe some secret trials that we learn about on May 16 or a little bit before, a little bit after, because it's in Scorpio with the South Node. So all the hidden deals going on in the background, all the secrets of the elites, all these networks, the secret networks. So I think this is going to be exposed big time.
It makes sense because when Cliff was talking about the taps shutting off in mid-May in Europe, yes, of course, that's going to cause emotional tension over there. But we're looking for that trigger for here in North America because he was seeing that huge emotional spike in mid-May. So maybe some of these revelations, as you're talking about, could be a cause of that. Something else audience members are asking about here today in email in the last couple of days. There was this article that came out that Putin was threatening perhaps the use of some of this arsenal that is on the screen here. Let's ask the cards, Janine. Is this even in the cards at this point? Do we have ET intervention that would prevent the use of these types of ordinances? Or is it perhaps on the table for some reason here? Have we moved to another reality, or have they pushed so hard, the bad guys here, to keep control that this might be in our future? Go ahead.
So it was definitely an issue potentially with those two cards. So that's like a juggle, and that's in the past. But this happened. So this is right now what's going on. So there's been a deal made on the back channels, and so that isn't going to happen with those cards. These are really peaceful, and a deal was struck. Okay, so that was in the past a potential situation. A deal was struck, and the outcome is moving out of troubled waters. So we're not going to see that, but it was a threat in the past, and it was neutralized by deal making and back channeled, shaking of hands and etc.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I even want to get into this one here? Okay, well, so this was a couple of days ago in the States. A judge, of course, ruled that this particular mandate, to leave it at that, was unlawful and went far beyond the CDC's authority.
Thank you.
Now, what was interesting in this article, the CBC here in Canada also reported on it. But as usual, they buried the lead. And so they said, oh, the judge who ruled that he was a Trump appointee. Of course, they were minimizing the significance of this ruling and wanted to attach it to that particular narrative. And what was funny, again, here in Canada, our Minister of Transport was just asked, and he said, well, we have no such plans, even though Uber here has also made their policy change as of late. I really want to ask this, because there's a lot of Canadians in the show here too. How quickly do you see changes where travel is reopened up here in Canada? Can we get like weeks, dates? What can we get from the cards, Janine?
It's coming, you guys. There's going to be legal things that change it. So it's going to get changed in a legal way, because this is legalities. And I know there's all kinds of lawsuits, you guys, going on as we speak that, of course, you're not hearing about. So it's going to get changed. And I would even give it like 10 days, 2 weeks. I hope I'm right about that, but I hate giving dates, but it does look like it's coming right up here. There's so many things you're being told, and I feel like we're really, really, we're getting fear punches again with all of these things, but I've never seen those things come to pass, like that passport or whatever. No, what's it called?
The ID, digital
the ID. Yeah, I never get that. And then look at what happened in Australia. All of a sudden, mysteriously, they get to travel again, just right out of the blue, because there's these lawsuits going on in the background that are taking these guys, all their agendas down. What they're doing is illegal. Yeah. And it's absolutely part of the movie. Like, that's what I get.
And there is lawsuits here in Canada, including one from, now I forget the gentleman's name. He was one of the remaining authors of the, Rickford, I believe his name here is in Canada. Anyway, I'll follow up on that, and maybe we can do a show just on that here in the next week or in one of our investigation shows. Janine, what are we at here? I have to go for 8:45, so I have a couple of minutes left here. Can we maybe pull cards for the collective here to see how things are going to shape up this weekend? There was a lot of fear around the 23rd of April, so that's 3 days from now. Again, we're seeing a lot of people in the spiritual community talk about some of these dates. For the most of it, they always come and go in some extent, or we know after the fact. We don't always know on the day of what happened because, of course, of our mainstream media or mainstream media. So let's see how to navigate here the next couple of days, and if there's anything on the radar that we should be focusing on here.
Okay, so I get something was on the radar in the next 3 or 4 days that could have been a real scary thing. And this is what happened to it. So even off Earth, sort of, because this is our maybe off-worlders or evolved beings that maybe aren't from here, off-worlders, neutralized it. So something's been taken down or stopped in its tracks. And then this is the outcome. Something's not going to happen because it was neutralized by forces that are helping. Human helpers, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think a lot of things. It's like I'm going to go back to that road trip. I'm going to go back to the road trip.
Yeah.
You get the scary signs and the big flashing lights, and I'm getting nonstop emails of, I call it fear, and then POR, and then an N.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to say it all together in one sentence, but anyway, We're getting all of these things, and honestly, a lot, almost none of them are happening.
Yeah.
Now,
Wow.
that's a good thing because things in the background are being dismantled. That's what's been happening.
I felt a shift in the last maybe 2 weeks, energetic wise. Julie, you're nodding your head also. Let's talk about that. What your feelings are, generally speaking, on what happened energetically, not just to us individually with this huge purge that we talked about in the last show here with the Scorpios, but also maybe on the general sense of the spiritual war on the planet, how things have shifted here last week.
Yeah, well, right now we're still under the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, which is like this energy of mass awakening. So it's favoring the light and people working for the light in a great way. And also it's helping people wake up. And it's funny because for the collective, I was pulling cards, and I just got the card lifting of the veil. So questioning everything, anything online must go. So for me, it really ties in with the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, because all of this fear, PORN, that Janine was just talking about, is helping people awaken even more and turn towards more of their inner selves, spirituality. So all of the people that are watching right now are kind of there already, but there's still a lot of people that's not the majority, if not the majority, that's not awakened yet. And I think right now is like a big crunch time for going on the right timeline.
Right. Wow. Okay. Very good. And guys, as we're doing this live show here too, I guess Andy's ears were burning, so to speak. He just sent me a message here. There seems to be miscommunication with respect to this minimum order. There wasn't supposed to be a minimum order. There was some confusion earlier this week too, where the waiting list people, for some reason, were given a maximum order, or basically a limit order, which was also, of course, not the case here, because everybody who had signed up for the waiting list were supposed to get the number of bars that they wanted. That was the whole point of them being on the priority list. So, of course, guys, please do bear with us. There's such a huge demand for this thing, and it's our first time producing a bar and getting this into the system here. This is not like selling the generic silver rounds that we normally do here. So mistakes do happen, and of course, all of this was happening during the Easter weekend, where the guys at Miles Franklin were working 24/7 here to try to fill these orders for all of you guys. So please stay tuned. Maybe the next day or two here, I'll come back on the screen with Andy with an update on this. And I want to make it right by all of you guys as best we can. Of course, there are things we just cannot handle. That is the shipping cost to some countries. It's pretty high. And in some cases, also the VAT taxes that we absolutely have to deal with because that is part of the legislation. So I hope you understand about that. But at any rate, please stay tuned in the next couple of days here. We'll try to get this story here sorted out for you guys. And a big thank you again to all of you supporting us here on the show and partaking in this amazing creation here of these tarot star card and the Beyond Mystic logo card. Julie, one last thing here as we're looking at this change of frequency around the world. Elena is a perfect example of that, moving away from the matrix, getting into self-mastery, self-empowerment, and this idea of this abundance and economy that we can create for ourselves as humans without these external systems that are continuously siphoning off our energy. So if you want to support Elena and Julie here, you can do so at maisonjupiter.com. And if you use the coupon code BeyondMystic, you'll also obtain a 10% off of these amazing crystal-infused candles. In the meantime,
and I feel like there's a lot of people that will start their own business next to the eclipse because it's in Taurus. So being more self-sufficient, starting a new cycle because it's a new moon eclipse. So yeah, I feel like it could inspire a lot of people to do the same.
And you know what's funny? In the last 2 years, because of what was going around the planet, a lot of people use that time also to self-actualize, to leave the system. But now it feels like we're heading into a second wave of that. So if you watching the show have also been itching towards getting out of that matrix even more and becoming your own boss, perhaps this is the time as well. The energies are indeed supporting you. This was another edition here of Tarot Readings by Janine. In the meantime, you can follow Janine, of course, at Sending Ravens here on YouTube and also at Tarot by Janine. And don't forget to go and subscribe also at Maison Jupiter on YouTube, where Julie and her lovely sister Sophie are producing more and more English content for you guys. minds. I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic. I love you guys. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.
Au revoir.